So today we're going to make one of my favourite snacks, nutritious, healthy, easy to make, great energy food. First thing you need to do is get a 1.5 kilo loaf tin, brush some butter in, line it with a piece of parchment paper on the bottom. That just stops it from sticking when it's in the cooking process. Then you need to get either 4 medium or large bananas, or 5 if they're smaller like these. When they've reached this overripe stage, so they've gone all spotty, starting to smell very sweet, a lot of people don't like them like that, and then you literally just need to chop them up into a bowl. So being very active myself and in the process of marathon training, I'm quite keen to find things that fulfill my body's craving for the sugar and carbohydrates as I'm needing more energy through the week, but without resorting to junk food, refined sugar, things without an awful lot of nutrition in them. So this is a really good way of adding in some nutritious food to your diet. And you know, when it's all cooked up, it's absolutely beautiful. You can put peanut butter on it if you wanted an extra zap of energy as a pre-run snack, or just with a nice cup of tea or coffee. There we go. Right. So, chopped up in the bowl, give it a good mash. It shouldn't afford you too much resistance on the fact that they're nice and ripe. If they're not ripe enough, it won't mash properly, it won't cook properly, and it won't give it the sweetness that you require, because you don't actually put very much sugar into this, because the assumption is that you're getting the sweetness from the sugars that have released into the nice ripe bananas. This is quite a fun job to do for kids as well. If you're making this, my daughter likes doing this, but getting the masher in and really giving it a good go, because it's nice and easy for them. She's only just coming on 8, so she's not got a lot of strength in her arm, bless her, but she's certainly, what she lacks in strength, she makes up for in will. So you can leave it actually quite lumpy. What I've done there, I don't know if you can see that, it's quite wet, but got some nice lumps in there as well, because then when that cooks in and you eat it, you're going to get this occasional little treat of a nice lump of banana. So that's done. We can put that to one side now. So the next thing you want to do is you need to get some eggs into a glass jug. You can either have a couple of large or a couple of medium. Personally, I find a couple of medium eggs is sufficient, but if all you've got is large, then it's not going to do it any harm. Then into that, you need to put a teaspoon of natural vanilla essence. Remember, we're trying to make this as pure as possible without adding too many artificial ingredients into it. So a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then you need a teaspoon of almond extract. And as with any recipe like this, if you're not a fan of almond, just leave it out. Maybe put in a little bit extra vanilla. That's those done. Then we need to beat that together. There we go. That's good to go. Next thing we need, butter. Now I'm using salted butter and then reducing the amount of salt that I actually put into the mixture. If you've got unsalted butter, then elevate the level of salt, which we'll come on to in a minute. So the amount of butter you need is 115 grams, softened if possible. If you're a bit like me and sometimes leave it a bit last minute making a decision to cook, just make sure you chop it into fairly small blocks. It'll be harder going to begin with, but once you get going then it will soften off when you start mixing it in. So we need 115 grams. I'll just do it there. That's good enough for me. Oops. Nobody said I wasn't clumsy. Right, so then to cream through we need 100 grams of caster sugar. Carried away there. Don't make it too sweet. Then you want to get the sort of bread mixing paddle attachments if you've got them for your blender. If you haven't got an electric whisk, just get a wooden spoon, get your strong arm on and cream it through until it's nice and creamy and light. But I'm fortunate enough to have an electric whisk. So here we go. Excuse the noise. You want to do this on a fast setting at this stage. Give it a good mix through. Sugar incorporated, making it nice and light, really making the sugar do the work for you, working through that butter. There we go. What's your uncle? So that's nice and light. See that there? Nice and light there. So, now we come back to the egg, vanilla and almond mix. So we need to add this in slowly. If you've got an assistant, as my daughter often does, she will pour it in slowly for me while I'm mixing. I don't have that convenience or luxury today, so I'm just going to add a little bit mix, add a little bit mix, but don't do it too quickly and mix it slowly. Now, as you're mixing it in, it might look like it's split, but don't worry about that. It will come back together when you're actually folding in the flour. So, a little bit in. Slower setting. Might be a little bit ambidextrous here. See how we go. Making sure I get all the bits around the side as well. There we go. And that now is as mixed as it's going to be, but if I just show you, it does look like it's split. But as I say, fear not. It's perfectly normal, and that's what it will look like every time you do it, pretty much. So that's that done. Finish with the electric mixer, so get rid of that, unplug it, move it out of the way. Now, what we need to do is put together some strong white bread flour, of which you need 300 grams. Now, quite often you'll see recipes telling you to sieve it, unless you're making a particularly delicate cake. I personally wouldn't bother. This is quite a rustic dish, so I really wouldn't be over concerned. Just as long as you mix it through properly and take your time with it, you shouldn't need to sieve it. Of course, if you particularly like sieving things, you crack on. So that's that. Then we need to put some baking powder in there. Teaspoon. Or in my case, 2/2 of a teaspoon, because it's still wet from my vanilla essence. 1, 2. And at this point, if you're using unsalted butter, you want to use 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Because I've used salted butter, I'm less inclined to want to put too much in. So I'm just going to get a little bit of rough sea salt, a couple of pinches of that. Should be golden. Right. Now, in addition to that, we're going to need a vital ingredient for the walnut and banana cake, being walnuts. So you want to use around 75 to 100 grams of walnuts, roughly chopped. But as with any of these things, more if you really like them. If you're not too keen on them, take them out. Maybe put some almonds in. You've got the almond essence in. Maybe cut that back a little bit and chop in some nice whole almonds. Be nice. So give them a rough chop. So now we come to the folding part. So we want to do it a third at a time. So you take roughly a third of your flour, and a third of your walnuts, chuck them in. Now